Hi folks, welcome to Java Technophile. This channel is made for things like coding and development. Today we are deep diving into a fundamental principle of every software developer and software engineers. That is nothing but drive principle. Every developer should know this principle. Guys, have you ever heard it? No worries. If you haven't, by the end of this video, you are an expert. You will be an expert. Let's deep dive into the drive principle. Let's discuss what are the contents in the drive principle, what is drive principle, and why drive principle, and what are the use cases of drive principle, and some of the examples of drive principle. Let's first discuss what is drive principle. So, what exactly drive stands for? Drive transfer, do not repeat yourself, a simple yet powerful concept. The drive principle encourages every developer to avoid duplicating code in an application development. In short, the goal of the drive principle is to eliminate the redundancy of the code. So, when we say don't repeat yourself, we mean ensuring that a particular piece of code or logic exists in just one place in the code base. In simple layman term, if you have some logic that need to be reused instead of writing multiple times, you should write a function or method that contains the logic and call it whenever needed. That's how you apply the drive principle. Let's discuss why the drive principle is important. All right, now let's talk about why this is an crucial and why should we bother applying drive. Well, here are some key reasons to know the drive principle and apply drive principle during development. Whenever you are applying drive principle, it is easier to maintain the code as well as it will improve the readability of the code. So it also increase the efficiency of the developer and testing becomes easier and team collaboration becomes easier. Let's discuss each part in depth. First of all, maintainability. When you duplicate the code, you making changes becomes a nightmare for other developer or for also you also, especially for other developer working on the project. By applying the drive principle, you only need to update single piece of code and reducing the chance of errors and inconsistency during the application development. As the duplicate code is less, so readability of the code is improved and it is easier to understand to the other developer, and developer do not have to sift through the repeated block of the code, which makes it simpler to grasp the logic behind your application. And another uh, key reason to know the drive principle is it enhances the efficiency of the developer. Let's not forget about the efficiency. Actually, the whenever the code contains duplicate code, the code becomes the larger code base, which can slow down the development as well as increase the risk of bugs. Whenever you are applying the drive principle, it promotes smarter resource uses as well as speed of the workflow or the development process that increase the efficiency of the programmer or developer. And another key reason is testing also become easier. Instead of writing multiple test cases for same logic, you can write one comprehensive test cases that cover all the instances of that logic. And due to the above point as we had discussed, dry helps with the collaboration of that is nothing but better team collaboration. When there are less duplicate code, the more conflicts are minimized and your team works more cohesively, and everyone working from the same foundation means that every developer works from the same foundation of the code. So then let's discuss the use case of the dry, and let's discuss how can we apply the drive principle in a real world project. There are some common use cases are like whenever you're creating function and method, when classes are in inheritance, when there is an application having configuration logic, and there is a common database queries as well as every application contains error handling code. Let's deep dive into it one by one. It's use cases of the drive principle. When it comes to functions and method, when we find a similar code block that repeated across the application, refactor them into functions or methods. This keeps your code modular and easier to maintain. And as you know, when classes are in inheritance, and there also we can get the benefits of the drive principle or use case of the drive principle. In object-oriented programming, we can encapsulate shared functionality in base class. That's why derived class can inherit the behavior without duplicating the code. And as we know, every application contains some configuration logic like database configuration logic, cache configuration logic, as well as the network call configuration logic, API consume configuration logic. Instead of hard coding these configuration values in multiple places, store this code in a configuration in a single file, or those configuration logic in a single file, or use in an environment variable that is in the centralized configuration manner, so that future changes becomes easier. So as you know, the every application there is a collect with the database to store the data. There is a high chance of repeating SQL queries in multiple places. That considers the creating a reusable data access layer or a repository layer. After that, this abstracts the query logic and makes code become cleaner. And also there is another use cases is like error handling. In every application there is a error handling code part. By centralizing the error handling code, this avoids the redundancy and ensure consistency error management across the applications. By following the dry principles, uh, you can create a more efficient, readable, maintainable code. Not only will your code base will be better, but your development process will be smoother and faster as well. Let's discuss a real-time example of the dry principle. Let's say consider a scenario where you have a task with developing a Java application for managing employee information. One of the requirement is used to calculate the net salary of the employee based on their basic salary and deduction without adhering to the dry principle. What are the behavior, and let's discuss. As you see on my screen, without adhering the dry principle, you might be tempted to duplicate salary calculation logic across the multiple classes or method. The code resulting like this: there is a class, employee class, which contains a method to calculate the net salary of an employee, and there is a class manager which contains a method calculate the net salary of an employee. Thus, the common logic of the code repeating after the multiple classes. This is nothing but the boilerplate code, and this exactly violates the dry principle. Any changes to the salary calculation logic would necessitate the modification in multiple places, which increases the likelihood of the error and the code divergence. That is nothing but there is a high chances of the bug creation during changes, because every developer have to change in the multiple places of the code. Let's discuss after applying the dry principle, and when we refactoring the code to consolidate the salary calculation logic into a single reusable component logic. The salary calculation logics creating a separate class or a method responsible for performing the calculation, which can be invoked whenever the needed. And as you see on my screen, there is a separate class for salary calculation that is nothing but the salary calculator. It is and there is a class of employee which contain the calculate the net salary, and there is a class of manager which contain the calculate the net salary from this classes, from employee classes as well as from manager classes. We are just calling to the salary calculator method, that is going to calculate salary method from the salary calculator class. Now, if you do any changes in the calculation of the salary logic, only need to be made in one place. That ensures the consistency and reducing the risk of error. This is all about the dry principle. Let's summarize the dry principle and the advantages of dry principle. The main advantages we will get by applying the dry principle is that is nothing but code reusability and maintenance efficiency, as well as readability and clarity of the code becomes easy. This is all about dry principle. Thanks for watching my videos. If you find this video is helpful, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Thanks for watching Java Technophile. Until next time, keep coding and stay with the dry principle.